Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Welcome back to the show. We are here with Jan Salisbury. Excited to talk to her about leaders who coach and Salisbury Consulting. Yes, this is her company and her business, leaderswhocoach.com. And she joins us again here on today's show. Welcome back. How are you?
I'm good, Jill. It's very good to see you.
You too. So talk to me a little bit about what your consulting company does and a little bit about your background. It's always good to get a handle on your work. I also am privy to know a little bit more about you because I've spoke with you before, but new people tuning in each and every day, let's remind them.
Sure. I've had my own business for 40 years, and I am a executive coach, a master executive coach with the International Coaching Federation. I not only coach individual leaders, but I also coach teams at this point. And I have a program called Leaders Who Coach, which I started about 13 years ago. And it's really about teaching leaders to coach in the same evidence-based way
Okay.
that we coach in the professional coaching profession. And so far, I've had over 1,000 leaders go through the program. And maybe
Wow.
85 organizations. Yeah, it just sort of caught on, much to my surprise.
Oh my goodness. Impressive. That's wonderful. How can we reach out to you?
Well, I think the best way is either to email me at jan@leaderswhocoach.com. That's probably the best way, and go to the website and check it out.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I also wrote a book a couple of years ago because there were no books for leaders, really looking at a professional coaching model for them. So I wrote that a couple of years ago as well.
Amazing. And just a little of your background. Your daughter's in New York City?
Oh, she is in New York. She loves New York City. Yes, she
Good.
does. She's
Well,
an attorney in Manhattan, and she lives in Brooklyn.
oh, wonderful. That's right. All right. Well, we're excited to have you back here to talk more about the work you're doing and the role of strengths in coaching, growth, and performance. That's our theme today. Tell us how we can contact you.
Well, again, jan@leaderswhocoach.com is probably the best way. Just send me an email and we can do a little discovery meeting and see if there's any of our services, whether it's coaching or coming to our program, which, by the way, we have a program at the end of April starting, and that's on the website.
Awesome. And by the way, as we have our conversation today, as we talk, if you do want to call in to ask any questions for Jan, please feel free. 631-307-4010, 631-307-4010. As we continue, please feel free to call in and ask anything you'd like. So let's talk a little bit about the roles of strength in coaching, I should say the strengths in coaching, growth, and performance. How do we start?
Well, Jill, I have a question for you.
Sure.
Do you have things that you're very good at doing that you would not like to do?
Yes. Yes. Can I tell you?
Yes. And I think we all have those things, right?
Or organizing. I'm a great organizer and cleaner, and I just can't get to it. But yeah.
But what you do, you're good at it. Is that what I'm hearing?
Oh, amazing. The best. Yes.
And what happens, frankly, what happens in the workplace is people say, oh, so-and-so is good at that. Let's give them this task. Let's give them this role. But it's really not about that. The way we define strengths in psychology as well as in coaching is that it's something natural to you. You might have also developed it. It's something natural to you, and so you don't have to put a lot of effort into it, although you can work on it. And it's something, and this is very important, that you do that gives you energy back.
Yeah.
So it's the things in your work or in your life that you do that when you do them, even though there's a lot of effort, you feel joy and you feel good about yourself and what you're doing. And oftentimes, to get at this, I'll ask people that I'm coaching, tell me about a time when you were at the top of your game and you felt really good about what you're doing. Mm-hmm. And they go through the story, and then we identify what those strengths are, the things that they felt very good about. Yep. There are things that we have to do at work that we don't like doing, but there's research on this as well that tells you how important this is. And part of that research is the following. If you're in your strengths, it turns out that the brain is less effort for the brain.
Okay.
If you spend too much time on your weaknesses, it's a lot of effort for your brain. Now, I'm not talking about things that you need to learn that are things to update your skills in the workplace. Those are things that we do and we have to do. I'm talking about spending too much time in your role doing things that actually don't bring you joy. They don't bring you energy. And after a while, there's a lot of burnout that happens.
Yep.
The other thing about strengths is that they can help you with challenges. And that's one of the coolest things about strengths. Leaders coaching others or me coaching others is helping people identify those strengths and then apply them to a challenge that they have.
Mm.
Does that make
And
sense?
it does make sense. And we're up for the challenge. We need to be challenged, right? In order to do better, I think.
Well, people don't seek out coaching unless they have challenges and things they want to solve. So it's the name of the game when you're a coach or when you're a leader who coaches. So I want to give you a really great example. Sometimes people are in the workplace and they don't really, there's something that they're having a problem with, and they don't realize that they have strengths outside the workplace that they can identify, that they can then bring into the workplace, right? And so I had a woman who was really having problems tuning in. She was in my coaching program,
Okay.
tuning into others and how they were feeling. Um, and I said, well, is there any place in your life where you feel like you're really good at that? And she said, oh, yes. I am a horse person. I love horses. So we went to describe what she does when she's with horses and how she looks at them and looks at their nonverbal behavior. And I don't know if you know this, but there are actually leadership programs. Maybe they're just out west, but that are really about leaders and
Awesome.
helping leaders. Yeah, it's a very interesting thing. And she got very excited about it. And I said, well, how can you bring that in to these situations where you're having trouble reading people? And she got very excited. And the next time I saw her on Zoom with other people in the program, she described what happened and how she channeled that part of her. And then she cried.
Oh my goodness.
It was,
Wow.
yeah, it was like this magical moment for her to realize that this part of her didn't just need to be over here. She could bring it in to her workplace.
Beautiful. And by the way, the lines are open if you have any questions. 631-307-4010, 631-307-4010. As we continue, feel free to call in and ask anything. And Pam, are you there? You froze? Pam? All right. Unfortunately, we got a little bit of a odd connection that happens sometimes, but we're talking
Yeah.
about the role of strengths in coaching, growth, and confidence. And hopefully we'll get Pam back soon.
I'm glad you mentioned that word confidence, because what I've noticed is that when people coach, people leave, and I hear this all the time. Leaders say the person left, they were smiling and they felt confident.
Mm-hmm.
And the confidence comes from solving their own issue. The confidence comes from not somebody giving them the answer, but somebody actually helping them realize, oh, I can consider this. This is how I feel. These are my values, and coming to a plan that they can actually execute. But the person coaching doesn't give them the plan. They just help them go through what I talked about last time, which is the roadmap of coaching to really come to the strategies that work for them.
And could you guide us down, your role as a leader who coaches, right? What does the process entail, and how do you measure their growth and performance? Are these weekly sessions? How does it work to be coach? Because that could be an anxious thing on top of all your responsibilities at work too, saying, I want to better myself, but can you explain that to us?
Yeah, sure. You know what? That's a great question. It's a complicated question. I'll tell you what I hear from the leaders who've been through the program. The first thing that's really hard for them is to not be the answer person,
Mm-hmm.
not be the chief problem solver. So they have to let go of that. And in letting go of that, they then get to listen to the other person and help them define, okay, what is it you're wanting here?
Yep.
What's the goal? What's the outcome that you want? And that's where all coaching starts. It doesn't matter if you're a leader or if you're a professional, it starts there. What's our purpose here? And that's the first step in the roadmap of coaching. Then the second step is to really explore what all that means to you.
Yep.
You know, how are you feeling about this? What are the obstacles? What's been your past experience? What resources do you have? These are the kinds of things that you actually explore in what I call the ascertain step of coaching. And it's really interesting about leaders. When that happens, they begin to realize that the people around them have the answers. And I am telling you, they come back and they say, wow, that was amazing. I didn't have to give the answer. All I had to do was to help them go through this process and to listen well and to ask coaching questions, which are how and what questions. And the third stage is strategizing. And a lot of times the strategizing just comes naturally. You don't have to actually ask them for that. It just comes from exploring what's going on with them. And finally, the last stage is what I call next. So it's not just about having a conversation, it's about planning what's next. What are they going to do specifically? So that's the process that coaches, whether they're leaders or professional coaches, basically go through. And then they get reports back. You ask, what's the accountability? The accountability is not with the leader. The accountability is with the person themselves. And one of my favorite quotes that somebody gave me a long time ago, people tend to take their own best advice. It's a great quote.
Go ahead.
Yeah, it's a great quote, I think.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, let's remind you all how you can reach leaderswhocoach.com. Of course, that is the website. The phone number 208-869-8901. But today, if you have any questions, please feel free to call us 631-307-4010, 631-307-4010. The lines are open, and maybe it's your organization that needs this help, and you can help your team to really adapt and to grow. And that's what it's about, right? Because the coaching elevates the business, elevates the revenue, elevates the team camaraderie. I mean, there's a lot that it does, and it can really, I know you're a proven success. You have many great testimonials. And I also saw on the website earlier that you have some webinars that are coming up. What are those about?
Yeah, we have two kinds of programs. The programs that are in person are programs that organizations want to bring in. So it's just them, it's just their leaders. And that's pretty cool because it's a great way to create what we call a coaching culture. The one you see on the website is our virtual program. It's 3 half days plus a follow-up. And we get a variety of leaders from all over. And there's a lot of the same kind of experiential. We put people into break rooms. We give them feedback, which I've recently heard was amazing from people.
Cool.
And really get them to start focusing on being a coach. By the way, you asked a question earlier I did not answer. And the question was, do you do this in one-to-ones or what do you do? Here's the beauty of leaders coaching. They have lots of what we call coachable moments.
Okay.
As a executive coach, I don't have that. I have my set time. So a lot of times what they're doing is something just comes up and they'll spend 5 or 10 minutes using their coaching skills and their what we call the coach mindset to coach them right then and there. And what I get back is that it works. So we don't really limit people to those one-to-ones. We help them acknowledge there are a lot of coachable moments. Take a walk with somebody and coach them.
And by the way, the work you're doing, obviously, at Salisbury Consulting and Leaders Who Coach, can I ask you for an example of, a company, you don't have to use their name, but any stories about how coaching has really taken a business from point A to point B, and what that means. I mean, to you, it's got to be so satisfying. To the owner of the company, it's got to be like, wow, why didn't I use you sooner? What do most people say?
Well, I think this is what happens. People send a few people to the virtual program and then they bring it in.
Okay.
And here's what they tell us. They say to us that something shifts when they do that. And small organizations that don't have the ability to bring us in financially, they don't have enough leaders, They just send them over a period of time, and they keep sending them because they see the value. And here's what they tell us. Number one, people listen better.
Yep.
They collaborate better. Communication is better. Conflict resolution happens. And people get a sense that there isn't, that isn't just one person that's developing. It's everybody is doing it at the same time. And now, there wasn't 13 years ago, but now there's actually research that backs that up. Like when peers coach each other, it isn't just a leader coaching, their team. When peers coach each other, it increases collaboration. There's a sense of, oh, we're going to have a conversation and we're going to figure this out together by using coaching skills and following a process. And that was really surprising when I first heard that a number of years ago. They said, yeah, we're getting more collaboration. It's pretty cool. And it just shifts the organization. And it, frankly, it takes out this this culture of blame. It really takes out a culture where people are looking at the negative all the time. Because by its definition, coaching is a very positive experience, even when you're challenged, even when you're looking at hard stuff, because there's an outcome that you're going to identify and you're going to follow through with. So that's one of the things that people tell us all the time. And I just get delighted when leaders come back and they say, wow, that really worked. Let me give you a really cool example. And this is an organization that's sent a bunch of people. This is somebody in HR, and they have to go through people applying for an accommodation for disability. Now, usually that's a kind of cut and dry kind of process. Here are the questions. And this person used their coaching skills to turn it into a three-way conversation between the supervisor and the person who wanted it and her in HR. And she said it just changed the whole atmosphere. Suddenly, the supervisor felt like they were included. They weren't just feeling like, oh, I'm going to have to accommodate to somebody. They felt heard and they felt listened to. And all of that was integrated into the plan. And she just said it just worked marvelously. I'd never heard somebody do that.
Wow.
Yeah, it was
We love hearing those testimonials. And we only have just 3 minutes left in the show. 631-307-4010. 631-307-4010. If you have any questions in the meantime, what else did you want to add for today's show?
I guess one of the other things I wanted to, because I'm doing a presentation in Portland next week, or at the end of this week, is this notion that it's okay to appreciate people. It's okay to be specific about what people are doing well. We find that that's what buoys them to then take risks and to do challenges. But to be honest, most leaders aren't doing that nearly enough. They may be the kind of people who don't need that. The research shows that if you up the ante in your encouragement and appreciation, you get a lot of mileage out of it. So that's something that I discovered for myself. I started doing that a while ago. I really had to work on it. And it's something that leaders, when they learn it, they find it's pretty magical. But we don't have a culture that does that naturally.
Of course not, right?
Of course not. Yeah.
Oh.
Do people get coached in the media?
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Oh, yeah. Yeah. We used to have coaches come into the television station and they would like literally, and the coaching aspect of also, it includes how, let alone how you're speaking, your facial expressions, if you're too blinky, too smiley, too serious, wardrobe colors and fabrics and what looks best on camera and engagement, shaking your head, nodding your, it made me start thinking, what I've been doing my job and I just do it. And I thought I did it well. And then I'm like, oh, wait, you're right. That's uncomfortable. I'm blinking too much. Yes, I think we all can benefit from coaching. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah. And that's what we call an expert coach, which is a little different than what I'm talking about, but all of it is intended to develop you. And I think what you're saying is, I thought I had this down and there were things I could improve on.
Absolutely. I think it
Yeah.
works for everyone in every field. And
Yeah.
Jan, remind us how we can contact you and reach out to you.
Yeah, please just email me at jan@leaderswhocoach.com or go to the website and sign up for our virtual program. There is a limited space because otherwise we couldn't do what we do. I think our limit is 18 people. And I'm happy to just have a conversation with you about what you need and whether or not this is right for you or whether or not I'm the right coach.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And
Okay.
one more time, let's tell them again, if they do reach out to you, tell them that we sent you, please. Leaderswhocoach.com. You offer an initial consultation and to anyone that does call.
Absolutely.
A discovery session. I forget what we
Yeah,
call it.
no, you called it that. I've
Oh,
adopted
thank
it. Thank you.
you. Thank you
Yeah,
so much.
no,
Pleasure
you
having
did
you
that.
here.
Thank you, Jill.
And we'll talk more next time for sure. You have a great day.
All right. Thank you, Jill. I
Thank you
appreciate it.
so much. And to everyone
Bye.
watching and listening, we'll be right back with more. Have a great day.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house.
And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned. This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.